You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken Tech for your ears.
Welcome back to Tech Tuesdays. You know, every week it feels like there's just this fire hose of tech news, right? Articles, announcements, rumors.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to keep up.
It really is. Trying to figure out what actually matters long term, that's the challenge.
Yeah, filtering out the noise and finding those strategic nuggets.
Exactly. So that's what we'll try to do now. Cut through it a bit and look at the why. Find those moments, especially the decisions happening now that kind of set the stage for, say, 2027 and beyond.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, Apple. Sounds like a pretty major hardware shakeup, maybe even a strategic pivot. They're shelving the Vision Pro revamp.
That's right. That cheaper, lighter Vision Pro they had penciled in for late 2027, it's been pulled.
Pulled completely. Wow. So are they giving up on spatial computing?
No, not at all. It's more subtle. It's a pivot toward something else, smart glasses.
Smart glasses. But isn't that tech still pretty underdeveloped compared to VR headsets like the Vision Pro? Why jump now?
Well, I think they see the writing on the wall for the current high-end VR market. It's tough, expensive. Instead, they're redirecting those resources to gear up for the next battle. Augmented reality glasses.
Ones that might actually replace smartphones eventually.
Exactly. If they nail the design, smart glasses are kind of the only form factor that has a real shot at becoming that next truly ubiquitous device. You wear it all day, that's the multi-trillion-dollar opportunity they're likely aiming for. It's a long bet.
Okay. And this ties into their AI work too, right? They've been doing a lot internally, sort of quietly.
Oh, absolutely. They've got this internal iPhone app codenamed Veritas. Think of it like their own private ChatGPT.
Veritas, what are they using it for? Just testing?
Yeah, primarily testing features for a massive Siri overhaul planned for next year. We're talking about Siri being able to handle much more complex stuff, searching through your personal data on your phone, performing actions across different apps, that kind of thing.
Okay, but searching personal data, that immediately brings up privacy flags, especially for Apple. How are they squaring that circle?
All right, good question. That's where their new foundation models framework comes in. It lets developers build these smart features. But here's the clever bit. The AI processing, the actual thinking, happens on your device.
Ah, so the data doesn't leave your phone.
Exactly. Protects privacy. And get this, Apple is making the AI inference, running the model, completely free for developers.
Free. That's a huge incentive.
Massive. It encourages their whole ecosystem to build these private, intelligent features. You'll see it starting with iOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS 26.
Okay, interesting. Meanwhile, OpenAI isn't exactly sitting still. They seem to be going hard on the commercial side and launching a new social platform. Let's start with the commerce bit, instant checkout.
Yeah, this is a bold play. They're embedding buying right into ChatGPT. If you're a logged-in user in the US Pro, plus even free you ask for a product, you might see a buy button. Cap it, and you can check out via Etsy or Shopify right there.
Wow. But wait, the results? They're saying they're organic, not sponsored, ranked purely on relevance.
That's what they claim, yeah. Ranked purely on relevance to your conversation.
Can that really last? Seems like the pressure to monetize would be immense.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? History suggests organic purity doesn't usually survive contact with revenue targets. But if they can actually maintain relevance-based ranking, that builds enormous consumer trust. A big differentiator.
Okay, and the other OpenAI play, this new social app around their Sora 2 model, the video generation thing.
Right. Sora 2 is that upgraded model making ridiculously photorealistic videos. But the app itself, that's where it gets really interesting.
How so?
It's a standalone app, looks maybe a bit like TikTok, but, and this is the key twist, it's only for AI-generated content. You can't upload your own photos or videos.
Only AI stuff, so what's the point of it being social then, and isn't that risky?
Well, the potential reward is huge novelty and, crucially, control. They control the identity part. To use the Cameo feature, putting your likeness in videos, you need a one-time video and audio verification.
Ah, so they're building in safeguards for generated likenesses from the start.
Seems like it. It'd have to be right. If the whole platform is synthetic content, it's basically a massive experiment.
Yeah.
Can you build an engaging social feed purely on algorithmically generated, well, fake reality? Unprecedented stuff.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Amazon. Their hardware, Echo, Kindle, Fire TV, Ring. It always felt like it was mainly there to sell Prime subs or get you using Alexa, right? Like loss leaders.
Yeah, that was definitely the old strategy. Make the devices cheap, make money on the services and transactions. But that seems to be changing now.
How so?
They're really overhauling the devices. The new versions are noticeably better quality, but also price higher. They're moving away from just being cheap accessories.
So they actually want the hardware division to stand on its own, compete properly with Apple and Google on devices.
That looks like the goal, yeah. They need high quality, maybe even high margin products that offer real breakthroughs, not just Alexa integration. In the AI age, it can't just be a loss leader for voice commands. Your hardware needs to be a compelling platform in its own right, otherwise you lose those customer touch points.
Right. Quality matters. And speaking of quality, let's pivot from the big companies to the folks actually building this stuff, the engineers. There's been this, I don't know, almost frantic rush to jam AI into everything.
Yeah, it's everywhere. But interestingly, if you talk to some of the more seasoned developers, the veterans,
Yeah.
they're kind of unfazed by all the new model announcements.
Really? Why is that?
They say it feels familiar. AI's new tech, sure, but the patterns, the hype cycle, the integration challenges, they feel old.
Mm.
They've seen similar waves before, like with the cloud or SaaS.
So what's their advice? Just ignore it.
Not ignore it, but
Yeah.
hit pause. Their big thing is talk to your stakeholders first. Really, really understand the problem you're trying to solve before you decide generative AI is the answer. Don't just grab the shiniest new tool.
That sounds incredibly practical. It brings up that whole idea of good taste in software engineering, doesn't it? Which isn't quite the same as just being technically skilled.
Exactly. Taste is about picking the right engineering values for the specific project you're working on. You're always juggling things like, speed versus reliability or readability versus maybe raw performance or flexibility. Good taste is making the right trade-offs for this job.
So I could be a coding genius, but if I build like a super complex, ultra resilient microservice setup for a simple internal blog, I might have bad taste. Because the values I prioritize, resilience, flexibility, don't fit the actual need.
Precisely. That's a perfect example of bad taste. Your chosen values are just overkill or inappropriate for the task. It's subtle, but often way more important than just coding speed.
Okay. And that idea of fitting the solution to the need, that connects to the user experience too, right? This concept of the economy of user effort.
Absolutely. Products win when they respect the user's time and mental energy. You need to make sure the effort required scales smoothly. You got to smooth out those usability cliffs, those points where things suddenly get confusing or frustrating.
I heard a great analogy for this. Treat user effort like actual money.
Yes, that's the one. If you think of every click, every confusing moment, every bit of friction as costing the user something valuable, it forces you to be much more disciplined in your design.
Force is restrained. Stop adding features just because you can.
Exactly. You prioritize the user consistently. That builds delight, then trust, then loyalty. But it needs discipline from the whole organization, which kind of contrasts with how some places treat their internal resources, right?
Ah, you mean shuffling people around between projects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it all the time. Organizations move engineers between teams like they're interchangeable parts. The roadmaps often assume you can just swap people in and out.
Like they're units in a video game.
Pretty much. But the reality is, effective teams run on deep institutional knowledge, shared culture. Things that get destroyed when you churn people constantly. A lot of managers seem to miss that. They think redirecting people is easy, but often that specific expertise just isn't replaceable, and the project ends up suffering.
And that institutional knowledge, that personal conviction, it becomes absolutely critical when ethics come into play. We saw some stark examples recently.
Yeah, really important cases highlighting the difference between engineers who push back on illegal or unethical requests and those who don't.
Like the director of engineering at Frank, that student loan company.
Right. They were asked directly to basically invent fake customer data to make the company look better for acquisition. They refused.
Mm.
And because they refused, they were legally in the clear when the whole thing blew up later as fraud.
That takes serious guts, standing up to that kind of pressure.
It does. And contrast that with engineers at places like FTX or Pollen. You had Nishad Singh at FTX, who apparently knew about illegal stuff happening but stayed,
Yeah.
now facing serious consequences. Or the engineer at Pollen who ran a script that double-charged customers potentially facing wire fraud charges.
What?
The decision to comply, even when you feel pressured, carries massive personal risk. Here on The Vocal Technologist, we often talk about technical decisions, but sometimes the most critical decision an engineer makes is the one they refuse to implement.
That's a really powerful point. Okay, let's shift from code and culture to, well, pushing physical boundaries. Section 3, space, speed, simulation. Let's start with some radical transportation ideas.
Okay, check this out. Inversion's Arc spacecraft. The idea is delivering cargo up to 500 pounds pretty much anywhere on Earth in under an hour.
Under an hour? How?
They launch these Arc capsules into orbit where they can stay parked for up to 5 years just waiting. When needed, they deploy autonomously, re-enter, and land. Global logistics, but think high-priority, urgent stuff. First launch target is end of next year.
That's wild. Okay, back down to Earth. Windowless jets. Auto aerospace.
Yeah, the Phantom 3500 seats 9, business jet category. But instead of windows, the cabin has these big digital screens showing a virtual view outside.
Why do that? Just for the novelty?
Efficiency, mostly. Getting rid of windows and the structural support they need saves a lot of weight. They claim it cuts fuel burn by a massive 60%. And it's not just a concept. FlexJet's already ordered 300 of them. First flight targeted for 2027.
60% fuel saving is huge.
Right.
Okay, staying airborne, Blue Origin's next New Glenn launch, sending NASA probes to Mars.
That's the payload, yeah. 2 NASA satellites heading towards Mars on the second New Glenn flight. But the real mission objective for Blue Origin here is actually closer to home.
What do you mean?
They desperately need to recover and reuse that first stage booster. Successfully doing that is a critical, non-negotiable step for them to get certified by the U.S. Space Force to launch national security satellites.
So Mars is secondary. The main goal is proving reusability to win those big government contracts.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's essential for them to compete effectively, especially against SpaceX.
And this all feeds into that bigger trend, right? Making launch sites work more like airports.
Exactly. SpaceX is already pushing this hard. The vision is multiple companies launching multiple rockets per day from various sites. Much more resilient, much more routine. It's changing the whole operational model of space access.
Okay, let's wrap up with some truly extreme science. Caltech physicists built a quantum computer with 6,100 qubits.
6,100 qubits. Yeah, using cesium atoms trapped by lasers, it completely blows previous records out of the water.
Why does that sheer number matter so much?
Because quantum bits, qubits, are incredibly fragile and prone to errors. Having a huge number like this allows for much better error correction. You can use many physical qubits to create one more stable, logical qubit, essentially double-checking the calculations to overcome that fragility. It's a big step towards making quantum computers actually useful.
Okay, that's mind-bending, but maybe not as mind-bending as simulating a single human cell.
Ah, yeah. The ultimate computational challenge, perhaps. Simulating one cell, atom by atom, tracking all the molecular dynamics for just 24 hours. The numbers are just staggering.
How staggering are we talking?
2 times 10 to the power of 38 floating point operations. 2 by 138 FLOPs.
Okay, that number means almost nothing to me. Put that in perspective.
Okay. If you took every single supercomputer on Earth right now, combined all their power, and set them to only work on this one simulation, it would still take them longer than the current age of the universe to simulate just 24 hours of that single cell's life.
Longer than the age of the universe. Wow. That's humbling.
It really shows the sheer complexity packed into basic biology.
So when might we actually be able to do that simulation?
Well, based on extrapolating the exponential growth of computing power, Moore's law, and beyond the current best guess is somewhere around 2074.
2074. Still a ways off, but it puts that exponential curve in perspective.
Definitely.
So quite a journey today. We went from Apple's pivot to smart glasses, OpenAI's dual attack on commerce and social, the sort of timeless wisdom from older devs, serious ethics lessons, near-instant global delivery, windowless jets, and simulating cells in 2074.
It's a lot, but the common thread really is that acceleration. Things that felt like pure science fiction just, 5 or 6 years ago in AI are now commonplace. That exponential curve is steep, and it's not slowing down.
Hard for us humans and our organizations to really internalize that speed sometimes.
It is. But just think about it. The gap between today's computing and simulating that cell in 2074, it's maybe comparable to the gap between, say, the original Vision Pro and the AI capabilities we might realistically expect by the end of 2027.
Just 3 years out.
Yeah. The trend strongly suggests that within that time frame, AI models will be frequently outperforming human experts on a whole range of complex tasks. And there's no obvious reason for that improvement to suddenly plateau. So the question I think you need to ponder this week is, how does that relentless exponential growth specifically impact your field, your expertise?
A challenging thought to end on. Thanks for walking us through all that today, and thank you for tuning in. We'll teach you next time.
Spoken Tech for your ears.